Hi, thanks for coming back to Monte Cristo. Today we're going to make chocolate dream. It's a really easy dessert to make. I think you'll enjoy it. Thanks for coming. What we have here is the makings of our crust, which is going to be flour, butter, and chopped pecans. We're going to make that first, and then we're going to mix up easy instant chocolate pudding and milk. And then we're gonna mix up the rest of this stuff and layer it and make a really good dessert. And then this is going to be the topping. What I like to do with mine is toast my pecans, put a little butter on it so the salt sticks to it and have a little saltiness on top of my sweetness. I've heated my oven to 350 and I'm gonna mix up my butter and salt and pecans and get that started toasting. And then we'll get to work on that crust. In a little cake pan, I'm gonna put about a cup of chopped pecans, about a tablespoon of butter, and I'm gonna stick that in the oven and let it start melting, and then I'll stir it around. And then a pinch of salt. For our crust, we have 1 cup of all-purpose flour, 1 stick of butter, softened, and we'll just cut it in kind of like you would for a pie crust. Oh, and we need a pinch of salt. This was all-purpose flour, so it doesn't have any salt in it. Sort of gets to where it'll start forming a ball. And that's where you want it. It's got to stick to the bottom of the pan. And then you'll add your cup of pecans. Have a 9 by 13 pan. Rake it off into there. And I'm just going to mash it down with my hands. And that's going to be your bottom layer. If you have trouble with it sticking, you can always get a little bit of flour. Just put it on your hands. If you've got a thin spot like I have right here, and you can just push everything over there. It's going to spread some when it cooks and kind of melt together. So you want it pretty even. It's looking pretty good. We'll bake this at 325 for about 20 to 25 minutes. We'll check it and make sure it's not getting too brown. And then when we get it out, we'll let it cool completely before we put anything on top of it. While the crust is cooking, I'll mix the chocolate pudding with the milk. And you don't do as it says on the directions. Put just a little less milk so that it's not super runny. If you were going to make it like the directions say, you'd be using 4 cups of milk. We're only going to use 3. And maybe spray it across the room. Stuff happens. cream 8 ounces of cream cheese. And we're going to put in 1 cup of powdered sugar. Now we're going to go about this very slowly, because if we don't, we're going to be wearing it. Oh, see what I mean? We'll scrape it down. But this is the nice thing about using a hand mixer. You can clean those beaters off. Gets them pretty clean. I'm going to put about half of the Cool Whip in here and just fold it in. We don't want to push all the air out of it. We do want to get it mixed up good. I sure do make a mess while I'm cooking. I'm so sorry. I got these out to check on the pecans. And they got toasted, by the way. I'm going to show you what they look like. They're nice and salty and a little buttery, and they're toasted so that when you get a bite of that sweet, sweet stuff, there'll be a little toasted earthiness with some salt on the top, and it just makes that just 10 times better. Okay, I think that's about done. Now we're just waiting for our crust to cool. So here's the crust. I baked it for about 25 minutes. It doesn't really change color a lot. It just does get a little bit crunchy. It's really quite delicious. That's my favorite part, my favorite layer of the whole thing. And here are the pecans, and they just got toasted a little bit, salty and buttery, and that's what we'll put on the top. So the crust cooled, and now we're spreading the cream cheese mixture on the top. This is the mixture of cream cheese and powdered sugar and Cool Whip, and it's delicious just by itself. And if you do just a little at a time, it maybe won't peel the crust up. I did have to be somewhere last night, so I let it cool overnight, but you don't have to. You can just let it cool until it's cool. That's why my clothes are different. That looks good just like that. Remember the chocolate pudding mix? We're gonna put that right on top of it and spread that out. This is one of those desserts that you'll probably say, gosh, we used to make that all the time. I had forgotten about that. Well, it's back. All right, now here's the rest of the Cool Whip. Now, I won't say that you can't possibly use extra Cool Whip. It just depends on how much Cool Whip topping you want on it. Every time I make it, I always get more than I think I'm gonna need because, you know, it just depends on how much I want on it at the time. And quite often I'll go ahead and buy that whipped topping in the can, which is actually whipped cream, much better for you than this is, but decorate it with that. That's ready, all except for dressing it up with those pecans. And I don't want the pecans to get soggy, so we'll probably put those on closer to time to serve it.